everybody. This is Gina Cavalier at the Liberated Healer podcast. I'm filming you on location, so we're in a different background. But today we have Michele Blood. She's an author from Australia, which I consider our sister country because you guys are so into spirituality and healing and health. And so welcome, Michele. How are you?
Thank you, Gina. I am awesome. Happy Valentine's Day. It may not be when you're listening to it, but it is for us right now.
Yes, and we're always bringing in love every day, so I will take it. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. I mean, you were a singer and how your whole journey to getting to here.
Yeah, I still sing, still make albums.
Wonderful.
Still perform. I was professional since I was 5 years of age. And eventually, after many, many different types of bands, I got together a really great band and we went on to have really great success in Australia. And at one stage, we toured for 7 years nonstop, like traveling thousands of miles in between each city. It had going through a lot of rough times when you're in the rock and roll industry. And I was the manager of the band and this lead singer and songwriter. And so I managed to get us a record label and we started making videos and everything was going great. And we just started a tour with the Pretenders actually. And from Brisbane to Sydney is about a 14-hour drive. It's a long, Australia's huge and there's not many people that live there, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was with the truck driver and he fell asleep at the wheel. And as the passenger, all the musical equipment went into me and I was told I'd probably never survive, but if I did, I'd have physical limitations or I might be in a wheelchair. So that was the beginning of what you would think would be the most horrific thing that could ever happen to you was the best thing that ever happened to me because it put me on my divine purpose. And if I thought I was on my purpose because of the fact that I'd never thought about doing anything differently than what I'd been doing since I was a kid. And it's just fascinating to me how the divine works and how we end up growing up eventually in consciousness and, what happened to me in that hospital and how my body became healed is still a miracle to me because I didn't know about metaphysics or mysticism or the mind or anything like that. I just knew rock and roll, man. So that's the beginning.
I have a lot of history with rock and roll as myself. I have been married twice and both of them were in bands and one traveled a lot. So I understand the music industry and a lot. I understand your life quite a bit. When you're creating music, that's a spiritual endeavor, but sometimes the business of music and the people that are around it and substances around it can kind of lower the vibration. So, I'm aware of all that stuff too. So, so you're in this horrible bus. Did anybody else get hurt in that or was it just you?
It was just me and the truck driver. It was a truck that was carrying all our musical equipment.
Oh.
And I always used to go with the truck as far as I could if I'd never met them before to make sure the equipment turned up.
Smart.
I mean, we didn't have the internet back then, so.
Yeah. So what kind of injuries did you have just to understand the level of?
My hip bone was cracked through 3 places. My pelvis was completely smashed, not just broken, smashed. And all the bone, fractured bone, went into all my different organs. And so they had to, first of all, have me in traction for weeks and do many operations just to get all the bone out. And my back was fractured as well. So the physical agony of being in traction when all of this is broken in that way, I would pass out every few minutes, literally for weeks and weeks, every few minutes, just bam. It was just unbelievable that I got through that. And I ended up back on my high heels, back on stage.
Well, how old were you when that happened?
I was 26.
Okay. And do you remember anything during that time when the accident happened or did you just completely black out?
Yeah. Oh. No, I remember. It's amazing what happened because the truck driver said, I said, are you okay? Because we're on our side. Are you okay? Yeah. And he said, yeah, I'm okay. I'm pretty sure. are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. I can't feel a thing, which I couldn't. I didn't feel a thing. And then the ambulance arrived. And then when they had to cut me out, that's when the pain came in. It was like, oh my God, that's when I passed out. But while we were there, it was just, I think your body is in such shock, you don't know what's going on. And it's only when you move and all the bones start moving, I think that, but anyway, I don't want everyone to lose their lunch, breakfast, or dinner.
No, but sometimes it's just good to know the level, because that's where the transformation is, and that you can come through that, and give hope to other people. Okay, so then how did it change your life and get to where you are now?
Well, when I was in the hospital, I felt suicidal, but I couldn't move to do anything about it, because I couldn't imagine if I was going to do all my antics and cartwheels and jumping on top of double speakers and all the crazy stuff I did as an entertainer. I loved all of it. I wasn't just a singer. And so I couldn't imagine. And people would say, but you'll still be able to sing. And I said, yeah, but without the whole thing, I don't think it's going to be worth it. But I think it was just that I was in such physical agony. I just wanted the agony to be over. I don't think I was actually suicidal emotionally, just because the pain was so bad, I wanted it to stop. So after many long operations, people started sending in, fans and family and stuff, positive thinking books. I couldn't read because I couldn't move. And then they started putting on audio books because they realized, and I didn't want to listen to any audio books, because when you're in an oscillation of extreme pain, physical pain, the last thing you want is for people to be farting daisies when they walk into the room. Because you're not in their vibration. You're at a totally different frequency. And so anyway, there was my auntie put on, was it my auntie or my brother? I can't remember. But that put on Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Oh, it must have been my brother. Yeah, because he was into marketing. Right. And I was listening to that. And Earl Nightingale was speaking the book by Napoleon Hill. And he's got such a beautiful baritone speaking voice. I enjoyed listening to that because I like timbre, being a singer and a songwriter, and I like different sounds. And he had a beautiful musical speaking voice. So I did listen to it. I wasn't really interested in it because it was all about male millionaire entrepreneurs in America in the 20s. So why would that help a young female singer in Australia, right? So, but there was one chapter where Napoleon Hill talked about how his little boy was born completely deaf, 100% deaf. And he, chokes me up every time I think about it. He would go into little infant son's room every night for years doing affirmations, autosuggestion. You hear perfectly, son, and you grow up to be so strong and a compassionate person, and you hear perfectly. And he would keep doing that over and over again. And by the time the little boy was about 3 or 4, he had 30% hearing. The doctor said that was impossible. Not only that, but the hearing aid industry hadn't really begun yet, right? So when he was old enough, he went into the hearing aid industry and made great improvements and became extremely successful in bringing higher technology to hearing aid system. So it was like that really, you know what it's like, Gina, when you just hear something and you know that it will work. Yeah. So I said, okay.
You hear something, you might have heard it 100 million different ways, but some way the word that the time and the way that somebody placed it, it just goes in for some reason. It's just that. Yeah.
I hadn't heard anything about affirmations or metaphysics or meditation or anything like that. I wasn't in that arena. It wasn't in my, even my peripheral, just rock and roll songs, recording. Yeah. Anyway, so it was the first time I'd heard of anything like that, positive thinking, because I'd always, I was thinking about it. I was like, my God, the more I listen to this guy, that's what I've been doing my entire life through just sheer willpower. I've always known if I want to have something happen, I'm going to make it happen. I mean, when I went into the A&R department of Time Warner Music to get our first publishing deal, I walked in as a singing telegram, tap dancing, so that I could get in to meet the A&R people. And I got and with the ghetto blaster, and the secretary's there, and she's like the assistant's there. oh, it's going to be so much fun. Is it his birthday? I don't think it's his birthday. I said, no, it's a family thing. And so I went in there with the Ghetto Blaster and I said, wait till you listen to this. This is the most awesome band you're ever going to hear in Australia. And you're going to sign them. And they did. Anyway, just telling you, I was willing to do anything crazy, out of the box, completely out of the box. So I said, okay, I've got to do an affirmation. I am healed. I've got to say an affirmation. I've got to say something about myself, to myself, that hasn't happened yet, that I want to have happen, as if it's already happened. And I've got to emotionalize it. I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. I was like, great. I've just written a great affirmation because none of that is true. So I'd say it over and over again. And after a couple of weeks, Gina, my doubting mind just spat it out. It would not go into my subconscious mind where it's got to go, because of the fact that the doctors are coming in and telling me things that are the opposite of being healed. You know, you've got to be realistic, family is saying, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but then about 2 weeks after that, I had my huge satori, my huge download from the divine. Sing it.
Oh.
Sing it. You can't get a song out of your head. You write songs, Michele. You write jingles. And I never told my band I used to write jingles for advertising agencies, because I would have thought that would be uncool. But I made money doing that to buy musical equipment. But anyway, advertising agencies spend a fortune on jingles because they're not stupid. They know that once you've got their product with their jingle, even if you never buy a Toyota or you don't like Vegemite, you'll have it.
Yeah. Until you buy it because you remember. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I started singing it onto a cassette player. I got someone to get me a 90-minute blank cassette. I am healed, I know I am. I love myself, I am my friend. As the healing light of the universe surrounds me and goes through me, I am healed, I know I am. I sang it all the way through, and then I would just listen back. To make a very long story short, because there's so much more we can talk about to assist people to be healed today, that what the lyrics went into the left side of the brain, the affirmations. The music, the melody goes into the right side of the brain, and you have an immediate, it has been proven now, we've got all the scientific studies on my websites, it goes into your subconscious mind immediately. You can't get it out. You don't have to emotionalize it. You don't have to even sing it. You just have to listen to it, which is why my affirmation songs have now been listened to multi-millions of times all over the globe. In fact, there's a UK guy that used to work for Stockatman and Waterman, who is a producer, who heard it for the first time in at an event in Germany last year. Someone was playing it at one of their events, Magnet to Money song, and he's going to make it into a dance mix.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so
what a nice place to bring that into.
Yeah, so it's really quite fascinating. And I had no intention, Gina, of ever doing these affirmation songs for the public, because to me, when you record a song, it's a huge production. It's a huge production. Yeah. And you have everyone there, and, you know, it's like it takes about 2 weeks to maybe get one song done that you've written in the studio every day to make it perfect. But I ran into that studio and I did about 30 songs in 4 days of all about success. And I said to my band, I want all of us to listen to these affirmation songs because look what happened to me. But then promoters found out about my healing, because even the doctors were saying, we're not really supposed to say it's miraculous, but it's pretty damn miraculous what happened to her. And so I'm listening to more and more of these affirmation songs I'm creating. And my friend 𝗟𝗢𝗥𝗡 also helped co-create them. And it was really interesting that that opened the doorway for me to be touring all over the world with 𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗡, 𝗟𝗢𝗥𝗡, Lewis Hay, Stuart Wilde, Tony Alessandra, and of course, Bob Proctor I worked with for many, many years. And we created tons of songs and products all over the world. So that was how it began.
I love it so much. And especially for the youth right now, because I'm working with youth and I work with people that are suicidal or just kind of stuck in what I call like the tar pits of it and can't get out. And, you know, I'm recommending a lot of different music for them. And so this is would be a great package for them, because they just, they could just be passive and let it kind of fall into them. So there's so many other activities, that are wonderful, but you need to be in the space to do them, like yoga and meditation and exercise, or walking animals, or volunteering. There's so many great ways to get yourself out of depression and the dark energy off and all that stuff. But when you're bad, like, music is the best. Because when you're like down and you're just crying, and you're really, if you pop on music, I always say, just put it on, raise the vibration.
Yeah. And that's what Dr. Chopra said. He said, do one for little babies, for children.
Yeah.
So I did one called I Can Do It, Self-Esteem for Kids.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And this particular album, there's a little baby animal that speaks beforehand about where it's from in the world, if it's endangered, what it eats. My mummy and my daddy, like it's the panda from China, and orangutan babies, and the Bengal tiger. And when I did all the voiceovers for them, and
wow.
Dr. Chopra said, your Indian accent is better than mine. And then I had the little baby animals sing along with me, as if they're singing along with me on the little ditties, little songs about loving their family and hugging and kissing, and, living in harmony with nature. And so that's a beautiful little, just for 5 and under. But I've had many mums who say they play it for their infants, real infants too, and the kids just start giggling and loving it. So yeah, music makes the world go around. It makes a huge difference, and it shifts your oscillation very fast. Very, very fast.
And also, someone who has a different level of spirituality, there's no judgment. You know what I mean? And I think also it's like, especially if you're, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, there's no denomination, you don't have to commit to, so it's sort of, it is for all. And that's a nice thing.
Yeah, it is for all. And, I studied everything. I mean, I was looking for an enlightened teacher for 14 years all over the world. I eventually found one. I actually went off the grid for 10 years and just studied with her, meditated with her. It wasn't a particular religion. She's enlightened. Enlightened people, it isn't a religion. It's only after they leave the body that people start religions. And eventually I became enlightened, which is now why I teach deep mysticism and meditation to students in over 32 countries, and allowing people to understand what being liberated really is. It's not just about, people don't understand enlightenment is very rare. It takes a lot of work to do it. But one of the things that I love to do is make it very simple. Keep it simple and spiritual, because there's too many teachers that say, oh, it's all complicated and it's really deep, and that's why you got to pay me thousands of dollars because I'm the best. And so I make it as simple as I can. And if someone can't afford to even pay the $50 a month to be a student, I give it to them for free if they really want it, because I believe that everyone has an opportunity. Their purpose is to become enlightened, which means liberation, So it's, we've created something. This, what it's like when you're teaching people, Gina, and you're speaking to people that just don't know if they trust that any of this mind stuff or heart stuff or divinity works. Mm-hmm. And they're sort of like on the back, they're on the fence. They're like on the razor's edge. If they feel like if they move over, then they might be cut through on that razor's edge. And so this is so exciting. For the last 2 years, we have worked on an app that has morning meditations, 8-minute morning meditations, so that they can focus on a particular positive topic. It's got a beautiful sleep program where they have their angels speaking to them all night and putting them into very, very deep states of sleep with tons of positive affirmations, and the Magnet to Money song for the notifications. And it's just called Magnet to Money app, and it just costs the same as a cup of coffee a month. Yeah. And so for people that don't feel that they wouldn't even remember, the app is there doing it all for you, reminding you that you're a magnet to money, reminding you that you are loved, that you know, all the amazing content we've put into this. And, 2 years of solid work. I had no idea that making apps was so complicated, but now we've done it. I was determined to get something done that would help the people that they can't even remember to just put on the music and play it to have themselves healed. So this way, it's just comes on.
And you know what is great about that is because I'm doing some work with areas in like hospitals and assisted living places, and all of the workers are really overtaxed. I mean, it's not an understatement. They're exhausted from what happened. They're exhausted emotionally, physically, you know, everything that's happening. And then a person who happens to be in a hospital or an assisted living place, they have 24 hours in the day, and sometimes they have absolutely nothing to do or no one coming by. And if their nurse or a practitioner can come and set them up on an iPad and say, hey, you can go through this in the morning, you know what I mean? That things like that are so that, you know, that's what these are for. Just put it on and give that to that person. If you give them a couple hours a day of content that they can really absorb and fill their day, you know, because they'll get depressed and they'll start going down. If, you know, it's just all about, you know, accessibility. So you're making it accessible to people that really need it.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of the ideas from nurses and doctors and different people that I work with that are actually my students. And, you know, some of my friends in Australia that work assisted living places, and for me, seeing them go through hell, you know, hours to get to a place, and then, you know, they'll go to a home, you know, because one of them she goes in to help the people that just the government pays for it in Australia for particular families. And sometimes it's really rough for her, very, very rough, dangerous almost. And so she said, listening to the sleep program, she said she's able to sleep so much deeper, and now doing meditation, which she's been doing for 5 years with me, has changed her life. And now she has written some books and started some websites so that she can assist others the way that I assisted her. And so particularly working with, I mean, I've worked with kids that I go and do it for free, that are just about to leave the foster care system. They're just about to turn 18, and I do events for them. And we talk about what they can do and what their purpose will be. So something similar to what you do. We get them to sing along to the songs and start writing visual boards. And it's been very, very rewarding, and I love it.
You know, I recently went through sort of a traumatic experience.
Oh.
And even though through all my healing and the work that I do, and it was something that was needed and has brought me to even further healing, but I have started to listen and because I needed to take the silence out, because when I was in silence, all of the storytelling would come back in and I couldn't relax, and my anxiety was through the roof. And I still right now, and I didn't used to sleep with hypnosis or meditation music. I didn't sleep with it. I used it on other things, but I've been still doing it regularly. And I'm starting to almost wean myself off because I want to get to the point where I don't need it too. So it's like, you know, a choice, but it's really saved me through this time, because in those quiet moments when you're alone and everything's kind of quiet, it you know, all the fears can just rise up, right? And you just want to be able to just to put something in. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that's what I do with my students. I find different meditation music online. I don't write meditation music. I write pop songs to lift you up while you're awake. But so I find certain music, and I like it if it's not even too popular, because then it doesn't have the consciousness of a lot of people listening to it. Then I meditate on it for a few weeks to make it really clean, that music. And then I say to my students, buy this, you know, because it's not my music. You have to go and buy it yourself. And then I teach them to meditate, listening to it, just really focusing. And then for the last 10 or 15 minutes, then go into the silence, but keeping the soundproof headphones on. I said, because otherwise you're just, all the other thoughts that aren't even your thoughts are coming in, and you go down rabbit holes. And that makes meditation practice extremely hard because the whole idea is to stop thoughts and be one with that diamond, because most people can't feel their diamond, their infinite, because it's coated in emotion and things that have happened to them, and so that they can't feel it. They're like, why isn't this working for me? I'm doing everything I can. I know I'm a good person. And then they just get frustrated. And that's very sad. I don't like it when people are suffering So
Yeah.
I started, something called the mysticalexperience.com. And I highly recommend to anyone, if any of you would like to just experiment with it for $8, just for $8 in a month, you get to be in the aura, you get light transmitted to you, you get to meet people on our Zooms from 32 different countries. I've got a huge screen in front of me every week, and we discuss all the different challenges that people are going through. And we really mastermind to help anyone who's going through anything extraordinary. I mean, even to the point of helping people financially if they're single mums and stuff like that. It's a beautiful experience, and it makes it very, very simple. So the two things that I adore that I'm doing with my life is the mysticalexperience.com and this new app, because it's so fun. And you've got to have fun to lift up your vibration.
The highest vibration is laughter.
It is. And when you laugh, there is no thought. I even have programs called the laughing meditation, where I just went into a studio. I got all these babies, I got all these people, and I put all these signs up to make them really laugh hysterically, like who farted.
See, I love it.
So,
oh my gosh. Wow, you're really contributing in such a big way and giving back. And I'm very moved by all the different areas. Like, you really are a truth. You're really in there, just when you said, like, I don't like to see people suffer. It's the whole reason why I started this as well. And, I feel like we are a one thread of a tapestry, every single soul, and we all have to work together. And when one is pulled tight, we need to help that other one. You know what I mean? And it's just each one that gets better and more healed, we all collectively become more healed. And, I just appreciate your effort in all of this. And I know it is a life passion, but it's just always good to, vocalize it, because it's a lot of work. I know that sometimes even, things happen, especially in businesses. There's a lot of stress, and I know, but when you find your life purpose like you have, you just move through those obstacles because you got to get there, right? You got to go help the foster kids, right? You got to go help. Just keep going on that. Just
got to be a tap dancing.
And you're so light and, authentic and driven. And, I love what you've built, and your team has, even dealing with your team from my side has been you can always tell when they're happy and enjoy and doing what they love to do.
We've been together for over 20 years, all of us.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
I just wonder, like, what would have happened if that accident didn't happen? I know that was just awful.
If the accident didn't happen, we were just about to be signed to a big record label in Europe. We would have gone on and been very, very successful, but I would have, just missed the mark of what my true life was. Because the one thing that I've realized is all the experience that I had managing a rock band, getting road crew, setting up, doing all of that stuff that I did. I mean, in the beginning, I didn't even have a road crew. I had to set it up, just me and the band. And then learning how to handle any sort of audience, including Australian drunks. and all of the things that I learned along the way, all of that experience was amazing, because I love being a teacher who also entertains. And when we do our events and we meditate, but we get everyone up on stage, we do rock and roll. I mean, it's just because everyone takes themselves so seriously. And when you add music and entertainment and dances and all that sort of stuff to an event, it just makes it so much fun. And then
so much fun. I can't wait to come to one of your events.
Yeah. So
everything's on your website, the events and everything?
Yeah, I've got a lot of websites because I've got ringtones and everything. But the main websites are themysticalexperience.com.
Okay.
And you can, give it to you for free to start with, because you're awesome. But you can experiment and listen to all the past videos about every topic you can imagine. I mean, I've got doctors and dentists and lawyers and people that no one would, including themselves, ever thought that they would be interested in finding out about karma, past lives, immortal consciousness meditation who are really into it now. It's changed their lives, particularly quite a few dentists, because that's one of the highest suicidal professions in the world is dentistry. Yeah. So anyway, so have a look at all the free videos, or just, go to Michele Blood, MicheleBlood.com/liberated.
Yep. And we're going to link everything below in all the different areas. So
yeah, and we'll put the offer there for you to just go to the mystical experience for a month, and just for you to see for yourself, to feel it. And also to get the Magnet to Money app, magnettomoneyapp.com on Apple. It's just for iPhones and iPads and iPods at the moment. Took 2 years to get that, but it's just, it's extraordinary. It's an experience. People are calling it an experience, because people that never thought that they could consistently meditate are just saying, oh my God, I didn't realize that every single day it's a different meditation. What? How much time did you put into that, Michele? And I went, well, there is no such thing as time. I just do something and then it's done.
And if you have the right support around you, you can kind of create, people say that to me a lot too. And I'm like, you have the right team around you, you can just keep creating and building. That's amazing.
Absolutely. John Ndara is my business partner, Johnny Ndara, and he is amazing. And all our websites, that is so spectacular. I mean, when Jack Canfield saw my last MicheleBlood.com website, he was just like, who created that for you? And he's like, what about your book cover? I love it. And I said, we just do it as a team. And Trevor, I stole him from a Blockbuster 20 years ago.
Thank goodness.
He was managing a Blockbuster, and I said, look, check out my websites, because I really feel very guided that you're supposed to work with me. And then he called me up the next day, save me from Blockbuster.
Oh, wow.
And Holly,
your voice is
Holly.
Yeah,
Holly. Holly did the development and everything. She's a student, been a student for a long time, but she ended up doing the development and everything for the app. She'd never done it before. So she's on board now with us all the time. And it's just extraordinary. All the extra people, including you now, and all the people that I've met along the way, doing so many podcasts and TV shows and everything, that people want to, like you ladies and men that are doing these amazing podcasts, you can just get them all transcribed and have tons of books written.
And it's a way that everybody can contribute and build their community and have a voice.
Yes.
And my background was in entertainment as well. And everything was so micromanaged that, there was no individual voice left anymore. You just play your part. And unless you're a singer or writer, right, you get to do that. But when you're like in the background, the marketing and the business point, it was just like, oh, you do your little part, and what you really say doesn't matter. And that was just really hard energy for me to carry. It was like, what did you do,
Gina?
I did marketing at like Warner Brothers and things.
Oh, but Time Warner was my publisher.
Oh yeah. Well, it's different when you're talent, but when you're a business person, and then you feel like you don't have a voice, and that goes on to the rest of your life. You what I mean? You don't have a voice in your relationship. You don't have a voice, and it starts to, you're nothing. And then those doubts start coming in.
Start feeling diminished.
Yeah. So that's why I asked you about your team, because I know a lot of people that are in jobs that are not serving them anymore. And there are other companies and opportunities out there that you can work on a product that lifts you up,
Exactly.
And still make money. And that's why I like that your thing is magnet to money, because a lot of times with spirituality, people are afraid to even talk about making money.
Oh, tell me about it. I mean, Yogananda had it down. He said Americans just care about material wealth, and Eastern, they're in poverty, but they care about spirituality. And he said, Yogananda said, in Autobiography of a Yogi, that's why it was so important for me to come to the West, so that you can have spirituality and money. And who was it? Oh, can't remember the name of the man yet, but he was a very high conscious man. And he said, money is like a light transmission. You have brought light into your life to give you freedom. And that's what I always say to people. It's just an energy that gives you freedom. I mean, the reason that I live where I live in this beautiful mountain, it's like it's like Shangri-La,
Yeah,
because I attracted it because I wrote it down. I visualized it every day, and it ended up being literally a million times better than I could even visualize myself. So, there's so many different tools. Keep it simple and spiritual, people. Just kiss.
yeah.
Keep it simple and spiritual. If you don't know where to begin. But what I wanted to just say to you, Gina, about the music industry, they tried to diminish me too. Seriously. And as the woman, the band were just like, you can't talk to her like that. And they would say, oh, we want you to cut your hair, or can you change your clothing to be more like Annie Lennox, and blah, blah, blah. And it was so crazy because I had my own style, and
Yeah.
I loved my own style, and it was pretty scant what I would wear on stage, but they had me in suits and ties and cutting my hair and changing my hair to red. And in the end, I just went, look, you guys are suits and ties. You don't know what in the hell you're talking about. The reason I've become successful and we have thousands of people coming to our gigs is one of the reasons is because of my appearance. It makes me feel confident to wear sexy stuff and to be scant. I'm not Annie Lennox.
I know it brings me to that song Pink, where when Pink first came out and she was saying, I'm not Britney Spears. She's cool on her own, but that's not me. And I just remember that because at that time that was so popular that everybody had to fit into a box. And
they don't have the talent. It's just so stupid. I remember doing a music video. My mother came, they brought a stretch limo, and three guys from the record label came to take us shopping to find the perfect wedding style dress for one section of the video. And Mum said, who's going to pay for all this? You're looking at $1,000 wedding dresses, and it's just a simple little music video, isn't it? And she said it comes out of her royalties, right? And I didn't even know that myself back then.
Yep.
And they said, well, yeah. And she said, look, I'm just going to sew her something. It'll be perfect. So let's just take us home. No more wasting money that the band will never get.
Yeah, that time they did that crazy. They would go all the expensive dinners, and then all of a sudden you're like, how come I have no money?
And we're sleeping in cockroach palaces. We did a gig with 𝗟𝗡𝗄 in Melbourne, and my road crew went into a hamburger joint after the gig, and Michael Hutchins was there, and because he'd met the road crew, and he said, could you please buy me a burger? I'm broke. Because they hadn't made it in America yet, so.
Yeah. No, I understand that. And we're changing all that now.
Yes, indeed. But I'm glad I went through old school tough times.
Yeah.
Because I've got, I literally paid my dues over and over and over again.
And I'm glad you reminded me of Yogananda, because that was literally one of I bought, that was the first book, and then Happiness by the Dalai Lama, in my 20s, where I was just so lost. And those are the two books. And then I bought the audio recordings from Yogananda, and I would just play them over and over again at the beach. And I just because I trusted him. And when you do the spirituality, trust is everything.
Yes.
Trust and safety. We need to feel safe, and we need to trust. And that's hard to do when you're talking about spirituality. And so I went to Yogananda was my first. So I'm glad you said his name today, because it brought a really big love to my heart, because you're right. I forgot about that story where he's like, we got to bring it together. We can't be you're right. It's just an energy. Why can't we also enjoy that? You're talking about affirmations. The money is going to help you bring the life where you can explore more spirituality.
Exactly. And, I just thank God every day that I met my enlightened teacher, because I trusted her completely. And she was just so irreverent, so funny. And 14 years to find an enlightened teacher. But that's why I went off the grid and I just wanted to find God.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted.
I feel like things are wrapping up faster. It used to take those 10 years journeys, and it still could, but I feel like, our type is coming up, and we're supporting all those people and said, hey, we did a lot of this work. You don't need to do the 10 years. We can get you the information right now, and you can start shifting your energy now. There's some kind of a fast thing happening of us coming together in this time space continuum that we're in right now.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Because I know what I went through to become enlightened, and it was a huge amount of work. And it's there's only a handful of people that become enlightened on the planet at any one time.
Yeah.
So, but I know that there are, like, a lot of my students are in what I call early enlightenment.
Yeah.
Where, you know, things have happened to them, deep spiritual experiences. They haven't all gone through the Stargate yet, but when they do, they'll woo. There is nothing in the world. If I'd have known what it was like to be enlightened, I would have started meditating when I was a baby.
Yeah. I agree.
But I do agree that because when I first started out wanting to even just talk about affirmations, people were like, oh, that's woo-woo. And it was just like, it took so long for people to understand science now. If people don't believe it, go to micheleblood.com and look at all the science from Johns Hopkins Hospital. Yep. I mean, about meditation and the brain and how it lights up. It's not woo-woo talk. You don't have to have faith to believe it. They have just discovered that this world is not real, and we are just like holograms. And that's why we always say we're not real. We're just vibrating energy. And they now have been able to prove that we are vibrating energy. We are not solid objects. Yeah. There is no such thing as a black hole. Science is slowly catching up with what the Buddha taught years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Buddha taught we are what we think. Everything we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make our world. Now, that's a negative and a positive. You don't want to have thoughts, but like he said, you don't want to. He saw a sitar player and he said, wow, he's got to have those strings perfect. If they're too tight, they'll break. If they're too loose, you won't be able to play. And that was his satori when he realized he couldn't starve himself anymore and poverty was ridiculous. And he allowed himself to eat and get healthy and get under that banyan tree and wake up.
Well, I want to see, do you have a few minutes to take us out either on a song or a meditation or something to raise a vibration?
Yeah, I mean, I could play a song.
That sounds wonderful.
The great late Bob Proctor, that I worked with for years, wrote this song with me. And we always said, you've got to be in synergy. Whatever you want, you've got to be in synergy with the vibration of that particular thing. So, because what you're seeking is seeking you, and that could be negative or positive. Yes. So this song is very up vibe, and it's spiritual, and it talks about being in synergy. And here we go.
Thank you.
Can you hear it? Yeah. It's synergy, red hot energy. Positive energy flows into synergy. It's synergy, red hot energy. Positive energy goes into synergy. Sing it, Michelle. With synergy, red hot energy. Positive energy built into synergy. It's synergy, hot energy, positive energy built into synergy. You shine and become magnetic. You draw the good in people out. The whole world will be a better place. And everyone will start to shout. Woo!
Thank you. Wow, that was so fun. You have such a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
I just love that you were born with that and that you've driven it to this part of the world. And thank you so much for today. And we're going to link everything. And she has a giveaway, which is a total value of $300. We're going to put that whole package in there. If somebody is interested in that, reach out to me and we'll get that over to you. And thank you so much, Michele.
Thank you, Gina. It's been a wonderful interview.
Yes.
And, we're in synergy, girlfriend.
Yes, we are. And thank you so much. And we're wishing you all love and happiness and health today on this day of love.
Day of love. Wake up every day and say, thank you for my beautiful life. And then write down what your beautiful life looks like, even if it hasn't happened yet.
Write it down with love. Thank you, guys. Bye for now.
Before you go, please, if you want to receive some amazing high vibrational success meditation, tons and tons of free products, go to micheleblood.com/links.